Welcome, Gemini, to your Gemini 2022 annual calendar reading and forecast. Hi, I'm Nigel Saint James, for those of you who are stopping by for the first time. And it's great to meet you, and hopefully we get to see you again. Join us here on our fantastic club on the Tarotverse. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw 12 cards, one for each month of the year, to give you an overview, but I do encourage you to look at your in-depth monthly readings, which can be found on the playlist on the channel. It's very simple, it's very uncluttered. It just has the month, the current month, and the month before. So it's easy to see what's there, and of course as the calendar moves on, the one at the bottom gets deleted. So there's no clutter and it's easy for you to find. The monthly readings are in depth and they will give you a much deeper understanding than this overview for this year will do necessarily, because we're constrained by time, aren't we? So what I would suggest is that you do that. Now I am going to, as I say, give you the 12, and I'll just tell you what they are. January through to June is 7 of Coins, 8 of Cups, 4 of Swords, 5 of Cups, 8 of Wands, and Queen of Coins. The 7 of Wands, the 6 of Wands, the Hermit, the Knight of Cups, the Page of Cups, and finishing the year with the Chariot. Outstanding. Well, excuse me. Come, sit down here now next to me. We'll have a good close look at the imagery on these cards together. I might use my pen to point out some of the really interesting stuff as I see it, and I'll do the reading for you. Right, now I think you should be able to see these. Let's have a look at this first one here. This is January, the 7 of Coins. We'll look at the art, because the art will evoke things that are in your subconscious, and they'll probably play out for you during the month. Well, what do we have here? 5 gamblers are seated at a table. Now the winner is sitting at the head of the table, and he rejoices in his good fortune, and on the sides are figures resembling the pages of the various suits of the tarot of this deck, I assume. The Page of Swords on the lower left is desperate. His bag is empty and he throws his cards wildly on the table. The Page of Cups, who is opposite him, sitting there, well, I think what he does is he has confidence in his hand, keeping his cards hidden except for the 3 on the table. He bets 1 gold coin. The Page of Coins stares at the money that is falling from the winner there. He's a good player and probably won't suffer badly. And this guy here, who is the Page of Wands, this coloured gentleman, I think he is also a good player and will still be in the game. Now the coins which are around here represent, now this is interesting, a sleeping baby. This is a treasure chest full of gold. Here is a soul in purgatory, praying for release. Now those of Catholic audience will know what purgatory is. This is developed by an Italian guy, so Catholicism is big in Italy. And down here we have the Chariot of Saturn. Here we have the full moon. Here we have a lily, and here we have a tree in fruit. Now I think what this means for you is that I'm just getting a feeling here that you might feel a bit stagnant after the holiday period, you know. The astrology of the card is Saturn, you see, in the 3rd decan of Taurus, the 11th to the 20th of May. Now Saturn is the slow-moving and restricting planet, and Taurus is a plodding, fixed earth sign, and together they can lead to stagnation. So you may have a feeling of restriction, resignation, hesitation towards something. You might think that you have a fear of failing about something, but you mustn't do, because all these other cards here are saying that you've got a wonderful year ahead of you and that month. This is a temporary thing, this fear of failing. I suppose everybody has a fear of failing though, don't they? But you, with your fine Gemini mind, are able to get through anything at all. Let's have a look at the 8 of Cups. Well, here we see what I assume is a crusader from those times with his aqua blue cloak. very amorously and being returned with great degree of amor and ardor as this lady in pink. They both stand hugging together. Now, in the cups themselves, what do we have here? Well, we have a youth who is a penitent youth who is confessing his sins to a priest. This is a puppet theatre. Puppet theatres, of course, were the great entertainment in those days. No YouTube, sadly, for them. Here we have, what is this? Oh, this is a scene in a village where there's a procession going on and young girls are throwing flowers and festooning the people below. Here is an eagle grasping a frog. This is a sort of a weird, creepy, veiled figure. Here is a woman being frightened by a large spider, and here a very remorseful prisoner sitting in prison. And what do we have here? This is, I suppose, I think that this is a possessed person going through the process of exorcising a demon. Yes, I don't want to underplay that warning that these cards are giving you about a feeling of indolence, really, of sitting around and not being your usual up and at it sort of a person. This is, this time, Saturn ruling the first decan of Pisces, the 19th of February to the end of February, either the 28th or the 29th, depending on whether it's a leap year or not. Now, as I said, Saturn can also be about structure, organization, discipline. There's a heavy energy. I think you'll have a great degree of responsibility during this period, but Pisces is going to give you intuition, and you'll be I think you might be quite emotional during this period. You may even reach some spiritual heights compared to where you've been before. Now, I think that there could well have been an emotional blockage that you had within you. This is going to clear. That swamp that was living with you during this period here, that is, well, to use the term of a famous politician, drain that swamp is what's happening to you. Excellent, excellent news. What do we have here? This is the Four of Swords. Don't you enjoy the paintings on this deck? I certainly do. Well, here we have a warrior who has renounced the world and seeks refuge in a hermit's hut that he has made for himself using, what's that fabric called? You call that, you ladies would know this, is that burlap? I can't remember. I don't know anything about fabrics or furnishings or anything like that. And of course he's using four swords to hold everything together. Now he wears a simple white robe fastened with a rope knotted 4 times for 4 vows: poverty, chastity, obedience, plus a 4th, a secret vow, I would suggest. Now you may be able to see it on his hands here, on the palms of his hands. But he has what's known as the stigmata, where there is bleeding from the center of the palms. That is in reference to the crucified Christ. So there is a great degree of Christ consciousness around you during this time. I would also say, rather than just leave it to the Christian tradition, there's also a great degree of Krishna consciousness around you. There'll be the incarnation of divinity really strongly within you during this time. Now his posture with his hands open and his face to the sky, that is ecstatic. And it's a little bit like what I assume is Saint Francis. You see here? Saint Francis of Assisi, the one that loves animals and things like that. I love animals myself, I have to say. Poor old animals. And he, of course, kneels by a small hut in the background of this picture here. Now, in front of this hermit is a bowl of water and a mandrake root. They're the only things he subsists on. And as if to really hammer home the point that you have moved from this sort of feeling going into this time of the year now, is that this is the Lord of Rest. It is Jupiter ruling the 3rd decan of Libra. That's the 14th of October to the 22nd of October. Now, Libra tries to find balance in your life. The need for balance can sometimes induce unrest, so expect to be busy, expect to be quite restless during this period. But be aware also, and this is something for you to bear in mind, that Libra can also, in these circumstances, sometimes induce indecisiveness, so be aware of that. I think your mind is negotiating some temporary resolution to things around you at the moment, and success is coming through as well. So you'll be calm, centered. There'll be clarity within you at last, spiritual cleansing, I think, and integrating different aspects of yourself, and an expansion in your outlook on life. Yeah, maybe even taking a break. Well, that takes us, I think, does it not, to what's happening here in the 4th month. And this is the 5 of Cups. Again, let's look at the art, because it's really useful to do so, I think. And what do we have in this painting here? Well, there is what I would call the patriarch here, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, well, for the 5 of Cups, members of his family. And seated here is what in the old days would be called a notary, and he is taking down the old guy's will. I can't help but noticing on the back of this chair that it is actually a replica of the Kabbalistic mystical tree of life. Now, I'm not going to deal with the Kabbalistic mysticism here. That often turns up in the monthly readings. And he's writing that with a quill. The reason why it's quite Kabbalistic is that there are Jewish letters, Hebrew letters rather, on these cups here. And this child has pushed over a cup from which spills green liquid. Now, I have an esoteric association with the planet of Venus when green appears, and so there will be coming into your life beauty, probably good business prospects. It's good for money, it's good for relationships. It does sit here with me esoterically in the number 5 with the planet of Mars, but we'll deal with that in a moment. There are 2 seahorses here. They, of course, give rise to the aquatic symbology, and of course we're sitting in the suit of cups. Now, what does this mean for you? I think what we're saying here is that we have, well, not only is Mars in the numerology of the card, but for me, I see the astrology as being Mars ruling the first decan of Scorpio, the 23rd of October to the 2nd of November. Now, ordinarily, you would expect a very positive aspect of this card because Mars is actually the ruler of Scorpio in ordinary astrology. But with this number 5 here, there's an additional Mars energy that's around. There's an additional energy. So what happens with all that heat is that there is the evaporation of the waters of Scorpio. So you might feel that there are some expectations of yours which are unfulfilled. You might have a very high standard. Remember, you only need 51% to win. You don't need 100% to win. Perfectionism is a curse in many respects. There could be some problems with some relationships. Expect some disturbances anyway. But this is a temporary thing, and this is brought about only because of this 5, which is doubling up. Otherwise, this would be full steam ahead. But nevertheless, I'm saying that probably some issues with relationships, but you're smart enough to know how to sort those out. Then we come here to the 8 of Wands. And isn't this a great painting as well? Yeah, I do really like these paintings. Well, here we have a young man very amorously pursuing this young lady here who seems extremely coy, I'll say. I'm not saying she's rejecting him. She just at the moment is quite coy, reticent, wants to see what he has to deliver. Well, down the track, they end up fighting with each other, as you can see here, tearing at each other's clothes and scratching and biting and what have you. But then there are 2 children. You see them there? One is here in this blue and another one in the red. Notice they're the same colors, blue and red. So this is then that unveiling of the innocence of childhood coming from you. So what there is here is it's almost like a process that you go through saying, gee, there's a great responsibility. It's causing me some friction. But then what I do is I let go of it because I'm taking swift action with relation to something. And the reason why that is the case is because you have Mercury ruling what would it be, I think? I think it would be the first decade of Sagittarius, the 23rd of November to the 2nd of December. Now, Mercury, as you probably know, is the planet of communication, and Sagittarius has the swiftness of the arrow. Now this produces within you a restless intellect, and you have probably the finest mind of anybody in the zodiac. You realize that, don't you? Now this number 8 here in this circumstance, for me, that has an association with Mercury as well, mystically for me, but numerologically it also refers to power, balance, harmony, manifestation, practicality, skill, and in particular, decision. So I think you're going to be weighing up a decision here, and you'll be making a decision, and the decision will be right. You're going to overcome obstacles. Events are going to be moving fast. Blockages will be removed. Opportunities are coming in and arriving quickly. And the manifestation of results of the things that you're working on is completely imminent at this time. Yeah, so things are really, really moving along strongly. Then we come here in June to this card here. Oh, I like the look of her. The older I get, I don't mind if there's a bit of weight on a woman, you know. I don't mind that at all. I kind of think, there's a saying that meat is for the man and bone is for the dog. Well, let's have a look here. Now, what have we got here? Well, there is what I would refer to as an exotic woman is dressed in a billowing blue, gold, and pink robes, the colors of the suit of coins here. She's like the allegory of Venice by Paolo Veronese. The only reason why I say that is that many years ago when I was a young man, I used to go to an art appreciation class on Monday nights. I went there to meet women, actually, because I was the only straight man in the class, and it was about 90% women anyway. So I learnt about art, among other things, I suppose. Now, what can I say here? Now, what's she doing? She's tossing up a coin. This thing here, I thought that might have been a fresco, but it's a big coin from the suit of coins. So she's throwing that up, and that coin shows a mother nursing 2 babies, and from the golden bowl in her lap, she lets fall an abundance of gold coins, as you can see there. Now, she wears a Venetian crown like the king. See, Venice was the Renaissance republic with an aristocracy of rich merchants. Now the ground is green, and in the background is a cornfield. In July, full of cornflowers and poppies. Now, what we have here? A rich dish of boiled ox head. Doesn't that just make you salivate? With a lemon in its mouth, and carrots to the side. On the ground is a glass adorned with sapphires and filled with precious liqueur. And to the right is a dish of what look to be pills or medicines or something like that. Now the Queen rests her foot on a red cushion. Now, just off the top, I've got to say that I think that Capricorn and Sagittarius could well be quite important to you during this period. Do you know that? You will, during this period, I think, be ambitious, affectionate and kind, charming, practical. And if you're involved in home duties, this is really, really this is a great energy for this. It's also a time, I think, for you to work with instinct rather than over-intellectualizing things. You see, your mind works at 1,000 miles an hour. So don't create any revolutions. Just make sure that you stick with regulations and just play the game for this month. There's a great degree of fruitfulness here. Physical nourishment is also important to you. And I think what it also refers to here is you having, by now, overcome what maybe emotionally, what seemed to be something of a barren past. Now, into the second half of the year, we have, first up, the Seven of Wands. Now, Have you ever been to London and to Hyde Park? On Sundays, they have a number of speakers who stand up on fruit boxes or soap boxes and address the crowd with their own particular views on things. Here there are seven stakes or clubs that this really agitated guy who's pointing his finger at people and professing his own view of the world. Now, standing by is this man in green who's totally unimpressed. You may just be able to make out there's a man in black clothing here, or black rags, I think, who has his hand across his face in despair. Now, this young man here, fit-looking fellow, fit as a flea, he seems really engaged in what's going on here. Maybe he's a bit naive. And here in the purple, we have a character receiving a coin from this rather well-to-do lady that's there. Now, I think what's important is that this is a time when I think you're going to show straight courage and strength in relation to your things, because it's got Mars in the third decan of Leo. And with me, with this number 7 here, I have a mystical association with the planet of Venus. Now, the energy of the suit of fire, though, wands, when we're down at the 7, it actually gets quite weak. It's quite weak. So the feminine energy of Venus doesn't really sit well, and it dilutes. Well, it doesn't sit well with Mars, who's in the astrology, Mars in the third decan of Leo. But Venus kind of dilutes the strength of fire. Now, Mars normally really likes Leo, but in this case, being so low down on the tree of life, harmony may not exist. And as I say, the feminine energy of Venus doesn't really sit. You might find to sit well with Mars, but you might find that it is only your Mars energy that is keeping you going. And it might feel that you're in a situation of, on a sinking ship, or you might feel that you're in a battle that is in the process of being lost, but you have the ability to win it, because there's always someone who can go ahead and do that in every battle. This is a time when you will show courage, daring, impact, and take risks, and I don't think you will make any compromises about anything whatsoever. It's also the case here that for me, numerologically, and I'll say this here, this 7, I've got to say, this can refer to, for me, I now get the feeling of introspection, re-examination of things, but also choices and responsibility. It also refers to secrets, You may have secrets that you don't want others to know about, or you may uncover secrets. But in any event, this 7 here and the energy of this card refers to you regaining control. Now, interestingly, that takes us from the 7 of Wands into this card, which is the 6 of Wands. And here, I think you'll agree with me that we see a number of servants. Servants is what I see. They wear the livery of the house of the suit of wands, the same worn by the page of wands. Now, in the top row is a coachman. You can see him there in this top row, a coachman. Next to him is a jester, doing what jesters do, which is just general merriment, mayhem, sarcasm, the usual type of thing. They get away with murder, don't they? He holds a club on which is a tambourine, which also functions as a candelabrum. It's fastened with ribbons. Now, on the right is a man of color who is a mace bearer wearing a white wig reminiscent of, what men used to wear back in the olden days. Now, at the bottom left is a gardener with a hoe. A horn for water hangs from his belt. A cook is shown. His club hung with 4 small baskets, really, containing what I assume are figs, plums, fish, lemons, and a silver pail full of wine. And finally comes the scullery maid here, and her hair in a kerchief, and a broom in her hand. Now, I'll give it to you straight. This is called the Lord of Victory by me. It is Jupiter, ruling the second decan of Leo, the 3rd of August to the 12th of August. Now, Jupiter is all about love, expansion, and philosophy, and this combines with the creativity of Leo, and so we have success in achieving your goals. Leo is also ruled by the Sun, and I have a mystical association with the Sun in the number 6 here as well. Also, that Krishna consciousness and Christ consciousness is very much associated with the Sun card. Well, with the 6, the Sun, and the number 6. So Jupiter in Leo is going to give you victory, success in your endeavors, great clarity of mind. You're going to make something of a breakthrough, I think, and there'll be a unification of all the energies that you have to bring to bear on something. You will be feeling inspired to continue. You see, I told you you'd get through this period here. And I think that you may well get recognition from others. And if I may say so, I think you are going to quite enjoy the limelight. Now, let's see what there is coming in here. Hermit. Hello, Hermit guy. Let's have a look at you. Let's see what we have in the art, shall we? There he goes. Okay, well, here we have an old man who holds up a lamp shaped like an hourglass. He supports himself with a staff on which there are 7 roses and a snake. There's a snake down there, and the 7 roses make their way from a bud up to the top flower there. Now, the roses on his staff symbolize what I would say are the 7 stages of growth from a bud to the fully open flower. The twisted snake bites its own tail, symbolizing eternity. Now, the hermit's hat is like those worn by the monks at Mount Athos, in the monasteries at Mount Athos in Greece, as is his gown, which was originally black, I suppose, but it seems to have been faded by the sun. Now, his undergarments here, as you can see, this yellow sort of stuff, that's made from woven straw. In the background, I'd say that is Mount Athos, and that's one of the monasteries there. Maybe it's his monastery. Now, the boats, at his feet, of course, is the sea. Now, the boats that you see down there, and this whale that's in the foreground, that's reminiscent of the Old Testament prophet Jonah, who was miraculously saved from drowning when he was swallowed by a whale. Actually, technically, I think the text says by a great fish and not a whale, but legend since then has always having been taken by a whale, but of course he wasn't. Now, Jonah, of course, later, his preaching saved the city of Nineveh from destruction by God. Now, this month here is also carrying on the theme that was produced in the month prior to that. I think you'll be finding your own light, going inward. There's lots of completion going on here. You're completing matters. You're getting things done. There's also the feeling of harvest. You obtaining things that you've worked for and are resting in your own center. Now, you might think that this is unusual for you, but I think you might also display quite a degree of patience during this period. I think you'll be a mentor, you'll love learning, and there's an illumination from within, almost like a divine inspiration, I think, as you're able to provide and get into other people, provide counsel to other people, because you'll be very good at getting into their headspace. And you'll have a great degree of wisdom for you at this time. You will be a wise guide. Who's the next character that is here to entertain and inform us? Well, hello, you look to me, and I think you'll agree with me when we look at this. Have you ever heard of a character in Russian history called Rasputin, otherwise known as the Mad Monk Rasputin? Well, Rasputin was a counselor, a spiritual counselor, although a lot of people said that he did more than just counsel. the Queen, or the Tsarina Alexandra. Her husband was Nicholas II, of the Tsar Nicholas II. Well, both she and her husband were murdered by the Bolsheviks in 1918 on about I think it was the 17th or the 18th of July, thereabouts. But he's wearing this hat like a Mount Athos monk, see, like the same thing as the hermit was wearing. But I don't think he's anything like a genuine hermit at all, because if I'm looking at the shoes that he has here, they refer to me to lawlessness, and these gold clasps on his jacket there, they speak to me of wealth, probably ill-gotten wealth. And he's riding a mule, a sneering mule, which is going over stony ground. And he's pointing out, he's holding the reins, but as he does so, he points, and he's pointing at you. And here, he's holding up a silver chalice, because we're in the suit of cups, with what looks like Cupid engraved upon it. Interestingly, I think that the people who are going to be important to you during this period are those with the sun or rising in Aquarius and Pisces. This is also a time when I'm getting commitment issues around here. Commitment issues. It might be a man who's got a problem with commitment to you, or it may be that you don't want to commit things, or it may be customers, prospects don't want to commit things. Nevertheless, you will be very attracted to excitement during this period. Now, I think you're going to have a great degree of enthusiasm about matters, and you'll be quite sensitive in the same way. What you need to do is to surrender to your beloved ones. You'll have a great capacity for giving and reaching higher emotional planes. And I think also here, again, I think with you, the possibility of developing and enhancing your spiritual relationship with the divine. And then, who is the next person that's coming into your life? Well, it's almost, I think, as if you have swallowed the romance pill here. Let's have a look to see what we have here. Well, here we have the page. Now, the uniform of the page here is that of the Swiss guard that guard the Vatican. He's got the drum hanging over his shoulders, and in the background here, well, it looks like, to me, the fields of Verona or something like that. Now, what there is here is Scorpio, Libra, Sagittarius all around you. You'll be very gracious. Now, for the ladies, you'll be quite voluptuous in outlook, I think. Sweet, gentle, kind, romantic, and dreamy. Now, the earthy part of water, esoterically, the page is earth and cups is water. Well, your character will be infinitely gracious, all sweetness and voluptuousness, gentleness, kindness, and tenderness. It might be that you also find that you live in a world of romance, in the perpetual dream of rapture. But what I do say here is, though, because she is earth and she's in water, the earthy part of water, esoterically, she represents the power of water to give substance to idea, to support life, and to form the basis of chemical reactions. She is enabled, he's able to, I'm saying she, the court cards, of course, are interchangeable, you realize that, as to gender, irrespective of how they're drawn. Although it does look like a woman, I must say. It does look like a woman. And nevertheless, you'll be able to crystallize thought. So you'll have thoughts and ideas, but you'll be able to turn them into reality. Now, where does that take us to? I think it does here, doesn't it? Finally, December. We have the Chariot, and what better card could you have? This is a turning point in your life. This is the perfect card to have at the end of the year and ready for the year in 2023 that follows 2022. Now, what we have here is we have a chariot who rides over a landscape that, well, for me, also recalls northern Italy, near Verona, at the foot of the Alps. The square chariot is sheltered by a canopy lined with gold stars on a deep blue background. Can you see there? Now, he holds a scepter, this charioteer, which is composed of a rod with a sphere and an arrow, and he controls the horse's reins with a golden ring. See this ring which is just there? Now, a blue crescent and a red crescent, this blue crescent on his shoulder and that red crescent on the other shoulder, they represent knowledge of the past and of the future. The white horse pulls upward while the black horse pulls earthward, indicating the two impulses of human nature towards spirituality and sensuality. The charioteer must learn to control the horses so that they can function in harmony. The horses' tails, I'm just looking at it here, they together form the image of a sort of this looks like a seed here, doesn't it, this thing here? And then that looks like a wing coming off it, and that's another wing come off. So it looks like a winged seed, which denotes the potential embodied by the chariot. Now, the astrology of this card is that of the moon ruling Cancer with Jupiter exalted, and really you can't get any better than that. This is a symbol for victory. I call this the child of the power of waters, lord of the triumph of light. This is speaking of victory over adversity, and you having the courage to act, a new beginning, a change for the good, maybe some degree of introspection and meditation. Again, I'm getting that spiritual path here for you. You might be going through something of a renaissance, a spiritual renaissance this year, you know. This is also about triumph in the face of adversity and overcoming problems and success with little or no support from other people. It could also mean that you go to the aid of other people because it is blessed to give, isn't it? Well, that's the way it is for you this year.
Well, I thought that was fascinating, didn't you? It looks like you're going to have a fantastic year ahead of you, probably your best year ever, if I'm any judge of these things. Oh, I think you've got everything going for you, and so you should have too. Now remember, I want to see you in the monthly readings, so don't miss out on those. They're far more in depth than what we've just done now. But until then, remember one thing, and remember it always, and it is that you are a legend. And I look forward to seeing you again next time. Until then, it's bye for now.